this is an iHeart podcast.
iHeart presents the Big Three Playoffs. This Sunday, the remaining 4 teams battle to make the championship in the most physical, fierce, and competitive basketball league in the world. The action starts with the Big Three Monster Energy Celebrity Game. Then Dwight Howard and his L.A. Ryan take on Montrezl Harrell and Dr. J Chicago Triplets. The finale will see popular Miami 305 with stars MVP Michael Beasley and Lance Stevenson take on Nancy Lieberman's Dallas Power. Who will make it to the Big Three Championship? The no-holds-barred action starts Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific, only on CBS.
Let's be real. Life happens. Kids spill. Pets shed. And accidents are inevitable. Find a sofa that can keep up at washablesofas.com. Starting at just $699, our sofas are fully machine washable inside and out. So you can say goodbye to stains and hello to worry-free living. Made with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics. They're kid-proof, pet-friendly, and built for everyday life. Plus, changeable fabric covers let you refresh your sofa whenever you want. Need flexibility? Our modular design lets you rearrange your sofa anytime to fit your space, whether it's a growing family room or a cozy apartment. Plus, they're earth-friendly and trusted by over 200,000 happy customers. It's time to upgrade to a stress-free, mess-proof sofa. Visit washablesofas.com today and save. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
Welcome in Thursday edition, Clay Travis Buck Sexton Show. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us. We've got a loaded program coming for you. Howard Kurtz from Fox News, Carol Markowitz from New York Post, and the Clay and Buck Podcast Network. And then the governor of Alaska, Mike Dunleavy, not the former basketball player. I don't think he's doing double duty. He will be with us as we look towards the eve of the Trump-Putin meeting in Anchorage, Alaska, that is scheduled for tomorrow. I'm sure there will be much discussion of that both today and tomorrow. But we told you this on Monday. Trump came out at, I believe it was 10 a.m. East Coast time on Monday and said, crime is out of control in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to marshal as many federal resources as necessary to help stop that from being a reality. He was fed up with what he was seeing. We now are on day 4 of Trump dominating the news cycle, and the news cycle being Democrats arguing, hey, crime isn't actually that bad. And meanwhile, almost everybody else is saying, actually, yeah, it is really bad. And why are you opposed to making crime better than it is right now? And I just want to play a couple of cuts here, Buck, to get you started for the day. This is, and I want to give credit before I play him, by the way. We have finally reached a bridge to lunacy that Joe Scarborough will not take to defend left-wing talking points. Perhaps embarrassed, chastened by his ridiculousness as it pertains to Joe Biden. He is actually making some sense. But first, the people who are not making sense. Chuck Schumer, he of the, hey, I like to cook hamburgers on a grill, awkward, increasingly without power in the Senate, terrified that AOC is going to challenge him. He says, I feel perfectly safe in D.C., and this is all just an Epstein distraction, flailing Chuck Schumer, cut 3.
I walk around all the time. I wake up early in the morning sometimes and take a nice walk as the sun is rising around some of the Capitol and the other monuments and things, and I feel perfectly safe. They're full of it. Look, here's what they've done, Aaron. Plain and simple. Donald Trump wants to distract. That's his game plan. It's been his MO for his first term in the presidency and now. So he's trying to make this a distraction. What's he trying to distract from? Well, a lot of things, but above all, Epstein. We've been confronting him on Epstein very successfully, left and right, so much so that Johnson had to dismiss, had to send his house home early, and we called it the Epstein recess.
Okay. This is desperate, primarily because Democrats were in power for 4 years and did nothing at all, by and large, relating to Epstein. Epstein has started to vanish as Trump has, I think, tried to marshal as much public release of data as he possibly can. And Democrats are now, Buck, in the position of arguing. The first part of this is what I thought was interesting. Chuck Schumer saying, I get up early in the morning and I walk around the Capitol. First of all, I question how often this happens. Maybe, hopefully he's out for walks and he's a very healthy guy. But I don't think most people are saying, hey, it's 6 a.m., it's deadly necessarily to go walk along beside the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. I think even Chuck Schumer would have to realize that much of the issue related to crime is in residential areas. And this is kind of a flailing nature that they're in right now. They're telling people to not believe what they see with their own eyes. Crime is bad. And I think everybody out there recognizing it and Trump trying to make it better is actually just a good thing and not particularly political.
It's also remarkable that the fallback now has turned into, well, we're doing such a good job as Democrats on the Epstein thing.
Yeah.
That's the big attack. That's what they're going after the administration on. Just to note, something they didn't care about at all while Joe Biden
for 4
was president.
years.
For 4 years. Yeah. There was absolutely no discussion whatsoever from them about Epstein. And yet here we are now being told that anything that Trump wants to talk about that they don't want to talk about now, their go-to is he just wants to distract from Epstein. I think
saving
that's
people from being murdered in order to distract from Epstein, I would argue would even if it were true, I would actually argue that's good. Epstein's dead, and not committing, to my knowledge, any current crimes. I'd rather protect people from current crimes as opposed to focus on past ones personally. So even that argument is a weak one when you actually break it down in that respect.
Yeah, I think that the whole Democrat Party is desperate for anything that they can say right now that just seems like they're even in opposition because there's nothing they can really pull together that will hit hard against where Trump currently is. I would note that on the crime issue, you've had a number of people come forward. Here's my old friend S.E. Cupp, actually. I wanted to play this one. She used to do the Real News Show with me at the Blaze many years ago at Glenn Beck's, the Blaze. And she had this to say at CNN to the Democrats, to their faces. Play 7.
The numbers can be what they are, but also people don't feel that way. And when it comes to two things, crime and the economy, feelings don't really care about your facts. And I can't tell you how profoundly stupid it is for Democrats to get up with their facts and their figures and their charts and their graphs and say, look, you're safe. Can't you read this chart, idiots? Why are you complaining? I'm showing you right here how safe you are, so shut up and move along.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Tough argument.
And that's what they're trying.
And I give credit. You wanted to play S.E. Cupp there. There's actually quite a few people on the left that are saying, you know what, again, this is a bridge too far. Joe Scarborough, who basically proved he didn't have a gag reflex as long as Joe Biden was president, even he now is saying, look, D.C. is really dangerous. And on MSNBC, they have that panel show, the morning show that you watch, Buck. I watched this clip. There's like 8 people that are all there in like tiny little boxes. They have this huge ensemble cast. And Scarborough's just lecturing everybody. Actually, Trump's right about how violent the crime situation is. And I don't think this is playing very well. Here's cut 8. This is what they heard on MSNBC.
The answer to this problem for Democrats is not, oh, everything's okay. There's nothing to see here. Move along. Oh, Washington has dropped 24% or whatever in crime. Well, let me give you some other numbers. The Washington Post took a poll at late April, early May. 91% of Washington residents say crime is a problem. 91%. 51%, it is an extremely serious problem. There are stark divides among lines of race and income in the poll, with black residents and lower income residents significantly more worried about crime than white residents and those with higher incomes.
I think that's actually well said by Joe Scarborough. The base of the Democrat Party actually feels the crime, that is poor black voters, in a way that the left-wing media that lives in Northwest D.C. and oftentimes has private security protecting them is a bit protected from this. And this ties in with what Harry Enton is saying. This is CNN, that he thinks this is a total miscalculation by Democrats too. And again, trying to reduce violent crime is something historically that almost all Americans have been in favor of. Cut 6.
Look at where Donald Trump is. Way, way, way above Joe Biden. What is that? That's 27 points. So Americans vastly prefer Donald Trump's approach to crime than they did to Joe Biden's. And again, I think it gets back to the point that Americans are far more hawkish on crime than a lot of Democrats want to admit. This isn't just about Donald Trump. It's about Republicans versus Democrats, right? And that, of course, is a key question going into next year's midterm election. I think the party closest to your views on crime, look, in 2023, Republicans were favored by 13 points. Look at where they were in May of this year. Republicans were actually favored by 16 points. They actually gained ground on crime. They were maintaining their edge and actually added a little bit to it. So Republicans in the House, Republicans in the Senate, they absolutely want to be talking about crime. The more they feel that we're talking about crime, the better they feel that the electoral landscape is for them.
Are you surprised that this has been the Democrat position, that actually crime's getting better and that Trump, I mean, if they had come out and said, hey, he's exceeding his presidential authority, we don't like that. But to argue, hey, crime's actually down and there's no need for this, it feels like an own goal, shooting themselves in the foot, even within lenient standards, because Democrats do that a lot. I'm kind of surprised that they stepped right into this bear trap.
I guess they just don't really have any sense of how to of how to pivot from something that Trump is on and come up with a better or their own version of how to fix it. Because to me, that would be, they could come out and say, well, this isn't for the president to do, but we should have more resources for. Now, I think the response to that would likely be something along the lines of, yeah, we've been trying that. Whatever they're going to say has probably been tried before and failed for a long time. And I think that they're going to be in trouble no matter what. But they have turned something that you would think would be a more minor issue into a much larger, much longer term issue, which I find surprising. The lack of political foresight that they have here. They've given Trump the news cycle this whole week to the point where, as we said, Chuck Schumer is saying it's because he doesn't want to talk about Epstein. I mean, how long are they going to be pulling that one off? That doesn't work. And also to look at the numbers, the crime numbers, they initially kept comparing it to 2023. Comparing the drop in crime to the year that had the single nationwide largest increase in homicides in 60 years looks really disingenuous to anybody who understands numbers and statistics. So they're having problems all over the place.
Well, I also think Scarborough's point is well taken. I mean, a Washington Post poll, what did he say? 91% of D.C. residents say crime's a problem. And I think he said 56% said it was an incredibly significant problem. You can't lie to people about what they feel. Eventually, you can address the underlying concerns. I'll give you an example on this right now. The economy is getting better under Trump. But I also understand that explaining to people that the economy is getting better is sometimes challenging because it takes a while for the national economic mood to shift and reflect what people are actually seeing. I think some of you are feeling it. Gas prices are down relative to where they have been. Grocery prices, according to the most recent producer price index numbers, actually coming down. And so the challenge, I think, is prices went up so fast that things still cost more than people think they should. But we are rectifying this issue in many different ways. It's just taking a little while. And again, Trump has commandeered the national news cycle now for 4 days over. He wants to bring down violent crime. Democrats have mostly said violent crime is not that much of an issue. And now, starting tomorrow, all of the news cycle through the entire weekend is going to be reacting to Trump and Putin and what is likely to be occurring based on that relationship. So all of that coming your way. But you know the world is going a little bit upside down when even a guy like Joe Scarborough is saying, hey, you're making a lot of sense here.
Absolutely. Every day, there are thousands of women across our nation contending with an unplanned pregnancy. It's scary, overwhelming, and a lot of the messaging pushes women to get abortions under the guise of exercising their rights. As it stands now, nearly 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in abortion. That's over 3,000 lives lost every single day. But through Preborn Network Clinics, there's hope. Preborn offers life for that child and a level of understanding and compassion that pregnant mothers may not get anywhere else. The Preborn clinics also provide free ultrasounds that introduce a mother to her baby, and that moment changes everything. Over 350,000 babies have already been saved through this life-giving work. So many mothers have an entirely new outlook and a love in their heart, not an empty hole. Mothers like Valeria, who thought she didn't have to have her child until her search led her to a Preborn Network clinic, and now she has a beautiful daughter. This is happening every day, and it's why your monthly support to Preborn is so critical. Just $28 a month can save a life, which is the price of that ultrasound. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, say the word baby, or go to preborn.com/buck. That's preborn.com/BUCK.
Making America great again isn't just one man, it's many. The Team 47 Podcast, Sundays at noon Eastern in the Clay and Buck podcast feed. Find it on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The reviews and ratings are in, and Ice Cube's Big 3 is the surprise hit of the summer. And to cap off the season, iHeart presents the Big 3 Basketball Playoffs. This Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, the remaining 4 teams battle it out for the right to make the Big 3 championship in the most physical, fierce, and competitive basketball league in the world. The action starts with the Big 3 Monster Energy Celebrity Game, where your favorite stars compete in Big 3 3-on-3 basketball. Then the first of 2 semifinal games features Dwight Howard and the LA Riot taking on Montrezl Harrell and Dr. J's first-place Chicago triplets. The finale will see popular Miami 305 with stars MVP Michael Beasley, and last will Make You Dance Stevenson take on Nancy Lieberman's Dallas Power, who finished the season winning 5 straight weeks to capture second place. Can Glenn Rice, Greg Monroe, and Paul Millsap stop Miami's physical assault, or will Miami and Beasley put an end to Dallas's winning ways? Who will make it to the Big 3 championship? This no-holds-barred action starts Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific, only on CBS.
Let's be real. Life happens. Kids spill. Pets shed. And accidents are inevitable. Find a sofa that can keep up at washablesofas.com. Starting at just $699, our sofas are fully machine washable inside and out. So you can say goodbye to stains and hello to worry-free living. Made with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics. They're kid-proof, pet-friendly, and built for everyday life. Plus, changeable fabric covers let you refresh your sofa whenever you want. Need flexibility? Our modular design lets you rearrange your sofa anytime to fit your space, whether it's a growing family room or a cozy apartment. Plus, they're earth-friendly and trusted by over 200,000 happy customers. It's time to upgrade to a stress-free, mess-proof sofa. Visit washablesofas.com today and save. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
Hey there, I'm Mary Catherine Ham.
And I'm Carol Markowitz. We've been in political media for a long time.
Long enough to know that it's gotten, well, a little insane.
That's why we started Normally, a podcast for people who are over the hysteria and just want clarity.
We talk about the issues that actually matter to the country, without panic, without yelling, and with a healthy dose of humor.
We don't take ourselves too seriously, but we do take the truth seriously.
So if you're into common sense, sanity, and some occasional sass,
you're our kind of people.
Catch new episodes of Normally every Tuesday and Thursday
on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen.
Welcome back in, Clay, Travis, Buck Sexton show, rolling through the Thursday edition of the program. Lots of reaction rolling in to Pink Polo and his subway assault on an officer. But I do think it's somewhat representative of a certain left-wing response to increased police officers in D.C. There are protests now that are developing against police officers being able to protect people from being murdered. And I look at this, and I do think, Buck, what Trump kind of is brilliantly exploiting in some way is the disconnect from the people who are the limousine liberal universe, as Rush would call them, who typically have their own private security. They have their own universe that tends to be far safer, where the rules are enforced and law is respected. And then most of those people, by the way, live in Northwest D.C., which, for those of you who don't know, is by far the wealthiest part of the Washington, D.C. Area. And then there's all the other people who tend to live in Southeast and live in a lawless, in many ways, society. And they're begging for help, and Trump is giving it to them. And the pink polos of the world are furious that there are police officers out on the streets. I do think that video that has gone mega viral is somewhat evocative of that disconnect, because in general, I think it represents, like, if you have that level of disrespect for a police officer, it's probably because you don't feel personally threatened by violence. And that's the only reason I can think of why you're screaming at a police officer standing on the street trying to enforce the law. But I do think the Joe Scarborough commentary and that video just really kind of illustrate in a very quick manner what Trump has pointed out, which is most people on the left don't actually care about violence because it doesn't impact their daily life.
Yeah, and they recognize that the Republicans have staked out for a long time now the position of, we do need to just enforce the law, we need to back police, and we need to incarcerate people, or none of this stuff gets better. And every time they're able to have it their way, or every time that experiment is run with that in mind, things do get better, things do improve. So we own this territory, so to speak, as Republicans, and Democrats don't want to cede ever that we are correct. It's stubborn. It's a bit of bitterness too thrown in there. And as you say, it's because so many of these people, and it was like, I was taking some shots at, what was this, George Will with the bow tie the other day.
Yeah.
Lives in Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase is not DC, right? I mean, this is like people, there are areas I've been to, suburbs of Baltimore, beautiful. People have like farms, and I mean, it's lovely. You know, it's really nice. That's not Baltimore, even if it's Baltimore County, whatever it is, right? So a lot of people, I think, that weigh in on this stuff too, they say, as a New Yorker, I'm particularly sensitive to this. People say, oh, you know, I think New York is really safe. I'm like, where do you live? Chappaqua. Well, you don't know. You know nothing.
Yeah. Where do you live? Scarsdale. Yeah.
I'm like, Scarsdale's safe. I'm not worried about Scarsdale, but, you know, go spend some time in the South Bronx and talk to me about how safe the city is. Although Manhattan is pretty safe for a large city. Boston, I believe, is a good bit safer for a sizable city. So there's really substantial differences here when you look at it. I was surprised. Houston's actually got more of a crime. You don't hear about it a lot. I was looking at some of the stats. Houston has a rougher time with crime, with homicide specifically and shootings than I had anticipated. It doesn't get a lot of news coverage, but that was another city, because obviously one of the biggest cities in the country that came up that definitely needs some help. I think they have a Soros DA, or at least they used to.
One of the challenges on the data is where I live is Williamson County, right? I think south of Nashville. I don't know, there's like 300,000 people or something who live in my county. Basically, it's Nashville. There's a murder rate essentially here of 0. There might have been 1 or 2 murders in the whole county in a year. And so one of the challenges you get into, to be fair, on some of this data is some cities only count a certain part of the city, and it could be a big sprawling metropolis. And so I wonder on Houston, which is the 4th biggest city in the country, right? It's a huge sprawling metropolis. That's why I think the New York data is so interesting, because New York City has 8 million people who live in the 5 boroughs of New York City, if I'm not mistaken, roughly. And you compare that 8 million with the 700,000 or so that live in D.C., and D.C. per capita is out of control. Now, some people would say, well, if you count Montgomery County and you count Arlington and all the surrounding areas, D.C. would look a lot less violent than it does when you only count the District of Columbia by itself. So, for instance, Shelby County, where Memphis is insanely violent. But if you counted all of the surrounding metropolitan area of Memphis, it would dial back some of the violence a little bit. So my point on that is sometimes the data isn't entirely illustrative of the full picture. But I do think D.C., which exists in this unique world where it's just a federal district, to your point, the George Wills of the world, they live just across the border in Maryland, and they're like, there is no crime here. You're like, well, yeah, George, you probably haven't been to Southeast D.C. in 40 years, unless you count going to the Washington Nationals, like right on the edge, I think, of Southeast a little bit, is where the baseball stadium is there. So it is in many ways something that I think the elite, the wealthy of D.C., just pretend doesn't exist because it doesn't come into their universe very often. And remember, this has been a big issue in D.C. for a long time. They kept the subway from going to Georgetown because they didn't want people who were poor to have easy access to people who were rich in D.C. It is a huge deal. They didn't want the subway. Anybody who's been there, you have to get out at GW and walk up, or you have to now take, obviously, an Uber or walk across the river from Virginia. They tried to protect themselves from the lesser class who couldn't afford their multi-million-dollar Georgetown mansions. It is very interesting. All those people vote left. All those people were Kamala voters. But, boy, they really don't want violent crime to have easy access to them, do they?
And yet Georgetown does have its spillover of, it's a lot safer than other parts of the city, of course, but there's stuff that happens in Georgetown that is, that you'd be shocked for this to occur in the nicest neighborhood of other cities. So look, Trump is right on this, and Democrats can do whatever they want, with the squawking and the screaming, and they can throw a fit. At the end of the day, Trump has latched onto yet another issue, has put forward another program and set of policies where anybody who is being honest about it is saying, yeah, that seems more, that seems sensible. And they have already been doing a number of arrests. They're taking dangerous people off the streets. So I think that it's not going to be a huge change in the crime data, but it will have a positive effect.
Our subway assaulter was a Department of Justice employee. This is the kind of, this is what Attorney General Pam Bondi tweeted just a little bit ago. I just learned this defendant worked at the Department of Justice, no longer, Bondi said in all caps. This is an example of the deep state we have been up against for 7 months as we work to refocus DOJ. You will not work in this administration while disrespecting our government and law enforcement. So this individual is named, I want to make sure I get his name, Sean Charles Dunn, and he was a DOJ employee. But do you think that guy in DOJ was aggressively enforcing Trump DOJ policies? I bet that he was a diehard Kamala supporter. That's why he was screaming at the judge, screaming at the officer, and why he felt like he could just pull back a sub and throw it. Because to be fair, how many times have you seen videos of police officers just taking objects being pelted at these BLM protests, for instance? Nothing ever happened. You just got guys standing there, water bottles hitting them, all sorts of pepper spray sometimes. So I do think this is a change of policy. The guy thought, hey, nothing's going to happen to me. I'm just going to throw this at the officer. It is going to be interesting. That happened Sunday night in Northwest D.C., and he was arrested Wednesday night.
Do we know what sparked the sandwich confrontation?
The report is that he was angry over too many police officers and screaming at the police officers for standing around. And that was what eventually led him. I assume when I watched this video and the way he ran,
drunk?
Yeah, that's my assumption.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like something that a sober guy would do. So I'm assuming the guy had been out somewhere, probably had too many drinks, was a leftist, got angry at a police officer, thought that there would be no consequences, because there haven't been really any consequences for leftists who do anything to police officers for years. And as the kids say, F.A., and now he's F.O.ing.
Yeah, I'm shocked that this guy would think that this is going to go in any, doing this at any point in time is unwise. To do it right now, given the focus on this nationally, is pretty crazy. But there are people who believe this stuff about how this is martial law or the militarization of police, and this is part of. There are less of them now than there have been, but there are still people out there who think that Trump is about to declare himself like dictator for life, and this is part of that move. So you can see this stuff online, but imagine working at the DOJ and thinking.
That's what I'm saying.
This is the part of it that's really bizarre to me, and also not understanding or being able to think about the consequences in advance of assaulting a police officer in the current environment like that when you work for the Department of Justice. I mean, you would hope that he would know that it is technically a felony to physically assault a police officer who on duty. I mean, you would think he would know that.
I think that this is an example of how you have protected people for leftist political thought. I think he thought that he was above the law, and I think he has now found out that there's so many Subway sandwich jokes that you can make. But
where are you on? So I really can't, because of celiac disease, unfortunately, I really can't experience the full glories of the Subway sandwich. Where are you on that?
I love Subway.
They're
I eat
good?
there.
I've honestly I have never had a Subway sandwich that I can remember.
Ever in your life? I like Subway. I like Jimmy John's. I like all of the, you give me a sandwich with chips and a soda, and it's to me the perfect meal. I understand.
But what is the best of the sandwich? The sandwicheries?
I get either the meatball sub at Subway, which I think is very good, or I get my tubs, my sub toasted. And I get, my favorite is sweet onion chicken teriyaki sub. So those are the two, my typical go-to if I'm, now I'm getting hungry. And if Subway just got a huge advertisement from us that they were never planning on, thanks to that moron throwing a Subway sandwich at the cop. But I'm a big fan. I like Subway. I think relatively speaking, it's healthy. They had that one guy who lost a lot of money lost a lot of weight. Unfortunately, he ended up being a pedophile, I think, right? Well, that was an unexpected twist in the weight loss story, but I do think that they do a good job of letting you count calories, which is not necessarily very easy in much of the fast food universe. So I like them.
Speaking of energy, on the days you need some, chalk is what you need. I'm going to be taking my chalk here shortly. It's a nutritional supplement company that is on a mission to make men and women feel their very best by relying on their all-natural supplements. Chalk can give you that kind of boost you need, maybe to add 4 or 5, maybe even 10 miles an hour onto your serve, Clay. We'll see. We'll see what chalk can do in the serves, we're going to see what happens with that one. But I'm telling you this much, I'm not going out there without making sure that I'm stacked with my chalk before I start trying to work the speed gun. Chalk's products are all natural. They're fantastic. And the male vitality stack includes a leading ingredient that replenishes diminished testosterone levels in men. That's your body's natural source of energy, testosterone. And if your testosterone level isn't high enough, you're not going to break 60 on that serve. You're not going to break 70 on that serve. So you got to be able to swing that racket, friends, with the speed you need. And chalk can help. When your levels are low, every guy experiences this as he ages. I know what this is like. Chalk's male vitality stack can step in and replenish those levels by up to 20% in just 3 months' time. Use my name, Buck, as the promo code. Get a massive discount on any Chalk subscription for life. Go to chalkchoq.com. That's chalk.com. Use my name, Buck, for that big-time discount on any subscription for life. chalk.com, promo code BUCK.
Sometimes all you can do is laugh, and they do a lot of it with the Sunday Hang. Join Clay and Buck as they laugh it up in the Clay and Buck podcast feed on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
President Trump, as we speak, in the Oval Office. He will be headed to Alaska soon. We are going to talk with the governor of Alaska, Mike Dunleavy, at the bottom of this hour about the big meeting between Putin and Trump that is scheduled to take place in Anchorage, and what he expects to see there. I can only imagine the amount of security that will be in place for that face-to-face meeting, and certainly we will be covering that in earnest tomorrow. And we're going to have a couple of cuts from inside of the Oval Office. It is the 90th anniversary of the creation of Social Security. a couple of things that Trump has said, just to give you a little bit of a news bulletin here. He has said that 275,000 illegal aliens, that is non-citizens, have been removed from Social Security. So there were, according to President Trump, a lot of people who are not citizens that were enrolled to receive Social Security, and also that there remains an inordinate number of people who are listed as receiving Social Security, or at least in the database, over 120 years old. Elon Musk even weighed in on that commentary. All this taking place from inside of the Oval Office. Let me fill you in on the Elon Musk response to what Trump said. But basically that there are not very many people, as you would well imagine, over the age of 100. And so 12.4, this is according to Margot Martin, who does great work for President Trump. 12.4 million names listed in the Social Security database were over 120 years of age. And Elon Musk responded to that by saying the oldest actually living American is 114 years old. Now we got a couple of these cuts to be able to play for you. Trump asked for his message to Democrats, saying there's no crime in D.C. Cut 25. This just happened in the Oval Office.
It's another reason why the Democrats lost the election in a landslide. They lie. It's just lie. Look, the crime is very bad. I think they'd be much better off saying, we want to help President Trump with the crime because it's an epidemic. It's a tragic situation. It's the worst it's ever been. And we want to help President Trump with the crime, as opposed to, he's a dictator. He's a dictator. People are so happy to see our military going into D.C. and getting these thugs out. As you know, we arrested a lot of people yesterday. We arrested a lot of people today. We're getting people that have arrest records that you wouldn't believe. 28 arrests, 15 arrests, brutal people. And we're going to have to do something about this cashless bail, because people shoot somebody, they kill somebody, and they're out on the street in less than an hour.
Okay, he continued talking about that. We can also have some fun. And by the way, I've got some fun coming for Buck here in a moment, too, on his tennis game. But we're covering wide ranges here to start the third hour. Elizabeth Warren coming in for maybe a tomahawk chop from President Trump. This is cut 26.
Elizabeth Warren said she was an Indian. We call her Pocahontas. She's a liar. She lied her whole career. Based on the fact that she was an Indian, she was able to get into certain colleges, get certain jobs, get into certain universities to work there. She's a liar and a mean person. She's a nut job. I watched her the other night. She's all hopped up endorsing a communist in New York City. And she was all excited and jumping up and down. She's got to take a drug test. She really does. She's got to take a drug test. There's no way somebody can act that way and be normal. What she's done to our financial institutions, he destroys people. Do you know that you had a lot of great banks in the Midwest and banks that loaned to farmers and others, and they went out of business? She put them out of business. Stone cold mean.
Okay, one last cut from the Oval Office. This is what I said. About 275,000 illegal immigrants have been removed from the Social Security program on its 90th anniversary, cut 27.
To protect our benefits, we've already kicked nearly 275,000 illegal aliens off of the Social Security system. These are people, many of them have already left the country, and yet we were sending them checks all the time. And 275,000, and that number is now even larger than that, Frank. It's an unbelievable job. And what that's doing is making the system strong. It's making it strong. Biden never kicked anybody off. Everybody joined. And we're carrying out historic deportations to remove many more illegals committing Social Security fraud. It's the Social Security fraud that was taking place at levels that nobody's ever seen.
Okay, all of that underway in the Oval Office. Now, yesterday, Buck Sexton said that he could hit, or maybe it's a couple of days ago, that he could hit 100-mile-an-hour serve.
One time. Just to be clear. One time. This is not that I hit, this is a very important distinction. Not that I hit 100-mile-an-hour serve regularly, that I could do it one time.
We now have some of the best tennis players in the world
And actually some of the greatest servers in terms of power of all time. I mean, I think Andy Roddick is probably the greatest server, one of the top 5 greatest servers of all time in tennis. He has weighed in on my middle-aged man not even college level tennis game.
Well, first, let's start with John Isner, who is, I think, didn't you tell us yesterday, John Isner, American tennis player. I believe he went to the University of Georgia. I know he's a big Georgia Bulldog fan. Really good dude. He hopped on Twitter and said, I'm calling that serve around 95 miles per hour. My bet is no. Now, you might say, okay, John Isner, in addition to being one of the greatest American tennis players of his generation, he's got the second strongest serve, you said, in like the history of tennis.
I believe that's correct. In terms of serve speed on the pro tour, there's like other people. I don't count it. When you're looking at the records, it has to be someone did it in a match, right?
It's not like the longest drive competition where you just get to show up. Like you have to actuactuly be a pro.
I mean, as a pro, when it counts, the fastest serve you've ever hit. I mean, Roddick got over 140. I mean, look, and I'll tell you guys this, like, I mean, getting over 90 is for sure. For those of you who don't know, like I already know, I knew that before I took the bet. Getting over 100 is hard though. That's why I'm like, look, I can do it one time, I think, but over 90, no question. So those of you who are saying I serve 60 miles an hour, your math is bad. But like I said, I got the speed gun. It arrived and we're going to have some speed gun. I'm trying to get to it this weekend, but I'll certainly get to it sometime next week. So we'll have some more video proof and I won't wear all white. Some of you are like, it was literally laundry day over here and people wear white when they play tennis. I don't know why that's such a weird thing for people. Like people wear white. I don't know. Why is that so weird? Why? If I were to wear all black in Miami, that would be weird because I would melt more than I already did.
I will sometimes say, when I see a friend wearing the same color top and bottom, that hey, I guess I mean, like I will make fun. To be fair, like if you came in, if we went to, I bet Carrie would make fun of you if you were doing anything other than playing tennis. Yeah. And you walked in the exact same top and bottom. So
yeah, but that's the most traditional. I mean, wearing whites to play tennis is not some weird thing. This is just like a standard thing. There are a lot of country clubs
it's required.
They require it. Yeah. So that's why people are like, why are you wearing all white? I was like, I don't know, because it's my tennis gear that I happen to have today. But I promise next time it won't be all in white. People are very fussy.
John Isner, awesome dude. Andy Roddick, I worked with a lot at Fox. Absolutely awesome guy. Just a genuinely really, really good dude. Great sense of humor. Also happens to be the best American tennis player of the last 20 years, probably.
This is the tennis equivalent though of if years ago Rush Limbaugh had weighed in on some guy who had like started a podcast on the weekend, like his monologue. Yeah. Like that's to have Isner and Roddick like weighing in on my serve is kind of like, it would be like Rush being like, hey, this is your first radio show. Like, you got some pipes, you're working on it. You're like encouraging, but
Andy Roddick said 100 miles per hour, less certain. But he did say the fact that he put on full ankle braces just to serve is the real issue here. So,
okay. Well, to be clear, I was playing, that was a lesson. So I was actually playing tennis. I just stopped for a minute to do a serve.
Well, I just think Andy is a very funny guy. So he was,
but he used to wear the ankle braces. Tell Andy, he's lighting me up. I have, excuse me, Mr. Roddick, I have cavovarus feet, which means that I have a,
sorry, I had to knock off my headset.
This is getting worse. Which means that I have a tendency to roll my ankles.
This is like telling Michael Jordan when he asked why you're wearing an arm sleeve that you have, hypertension in your elbow. One of my buddies used to say, I used to play pickup basketball, and his line, and I think it's an all-time line, he said, if you have any brace, you have to be twice as good as the worst player on the court. And I just think that's such an amazing line. He's like, if you show up for pickup basketball and you got like an elbow sleeve on, or you got ankle braces, or you have like a knee thing, he's like, you better be twice as good as the worst player on the court, because everybody's just going to be looking at you like, what?
Clay, you have Medicare to respond to Andy. I thought it was very funny. You have to tell Mr. Roddick, okay, who is a tennis serve and tennis god in general, but you have to tell him that I was playing tennis. I just stopped to take a serve. It was in the middle of like a, hitting session or whatever. It wasn't just, I didn't just put them on to serve. Okay. That's not fair. Look at how sweaty I am. I'm translucent on that video.
Not the two best tennis players. We basically of their generation have now weighed in. Also, Laura Travis out on the road, who has initially made the 100-mile-an-hour serve bet, I haven't heard this. She sent in a talkback to producer Allie. And so get ready. This is ZZ from Laura, my wife.
Buck, it's Laura. The speed gun has to read 100 or higher. Your bet was that you could crush the ball on a serve 100 or higher. 98 is not 100. The bet isn't that you can get it close to 100. It's that you can hit it 100.
Wow.
You also said that the speed gun has an error rate of a plus or minus 3 miles per hour. So if you hit it 98, that means it actually could have only been 95. If you hit it 100, the speed gun reads 100, we're going to give it to you. But it has to read 100 or higher without you faulting through your feet or on the other side of the net in the serve box. And also, even though I'm a doubter, I know I'm actually rooting for you because so many people are rooting against you and doubting you that if you hit this serve 100 or higher, you're going to be like the Rocky of amateur tennis serves. And I think if you make it happen, you should have a gold medal celebration on air, play the Rocky music, and just live it up. Turn all of us doubters into believers.
I appreciate that. I am the Rudy Rudiger of rec tennis serving. By the way, people who are also, I'm getting those people email me like, I played D1 tennis and I could serve 105 or 110. And I'm like, yeah, because you played D1 tennis. I'm just a guy who likes to play tennis on the weekends. I didn't even play tennis in college.
Guy who feels compelled to tell you that he's amazing at something that he should be really good at is always like, and I'm skeptical because I don't see, like the greatest hedge fund manager of all time doesn't hop in Warren Buffett's mentions and be like, well, in 2008, I had a 42% return, right? Like, I do think it's very funny that people who are elite at something decide that they need to let you know that they're elite at something.
Well, this is why like Isner and Andy and these guys
they're
can have
very
a sense
funny.
of humor about it. Like they routinely serve, and if you want to know, this is all true, you can check this. At that level, the pros, their first serves are 120 plus, usually 125 plus is an average, and they can get up into the 130s pretty easily, right? And that's every single serve. Every single serve
with spin too. It's not even just like a straight, like they're slicing it away,
they're absolutely
like
annihilating the ball. Your humble radio servant is saying, with like 50 balls, and I'm gonna try with 50 balls, can I get over 100 one time? Okay,
I will say,
by the way, it's not easy. I mean, if you're not a college player, that's actually like a college level player. That's not easy to do. People who don't play tennis probably think they can do it. Zero chance. Chance.
That's 100% true. I also think, I'm wondering, so I trained for the NFL Combine to write a book about the NFL Combine.
You did?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you can self-assess, but you can't run more than like 2:40s without your speed going down. That's why they do it at the NFL Combine twice, because most people, it's not like you're going to get better on your third. I don't know the answer on this. I don't know how many times you could serve in a row where you start to just go down because your body's getting physically tired, right? Your shoulder.
See, because this is more than anyone ever thought they'd hear about tennis on the show, but for fun, everybody, this is now, we have like the biggest names in the tennis world weighing in on the Clay and Buck Show tennis feud. But yeah, I'm somebody who is going to rely much more on muscle than technique. I mean, this also might surprise some of the people, but like the women on the pro tour, I can lift a lot more weight than they can. They just have 100 times better technique and weight transfer and elasticity, in their movement than I do. So that's why they can routinely do it 100. So it's a little bit like golf. It's not, if you watch Happy Gilmore, you think, oh, like I can just hit a slap shot. Like I've hit golf balls a couple times. I'm absolutely horrible. So I know I can't do that at all. You can swing as hard as you want. Like you can get somebody who can bench press 500 pounds, can't hit a golf ball. It's a skill thing, not a muscle thing. And so this is why I really have to work on the technique more than anything else to actually get it to the level.
Because there are
women who are there are women who are Laura size on the pro tour who can hit a 110 mile an hour serve like pretty regularly, and they have like tiny little arms and they weigh 110 pounds.
But they have perfect body mechanics.
Perfect technique. Yeah.
By the way, we're going to head up to Alaska at the bottom of this hour. I'm sure the talkbacks are going to be extraordinary on this. We'll play some of those as we continue. And the NFL is back. So I saw our boy Ryan Gerdusky mocking you on Twitter. You've been taking some body blows here because Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were talking. And Ryan Gerdusky said, this is like listening to Buck talk about sports with Clay. Putting you in the Taylor Swift role there. And I thought this
is only fair in college football, which I had never seen or watched until I was partnered here with Clay. I know the other sports ball very well. Okay. I know the sports ball.
It's just a shot, but some of you do in fact know the football. And the football is back. NFL preseason starting off this weekend. You can get hooked up with Prize Picks. 40 plus states, California, Texas, Georgia, where I am, Tennessee, where Buck is in Florida. You can all play. I'll give you a pick tomorrow. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com, use my name Clay, and you get $50 when you play $5. That is $50 when you play $5. 40 plus states, 13 million people playing. We're going to be giving you out picks weekly. You can play along. We can try to win. You can root against me. You can go the opposite way. Either way, we're going to have some fun. Prizepicks.com. Football picks coming. Prizepicks.com, code Clay if you want to play along and get $50.
News and politics, but also a little comic relief. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Clay, have you heard of the Rio Reset?
Sounds like a trendy new workout, Buck.
It does, but it's actually a big summit going on in Brazil. The formal name is BRICS, which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But they've just added 5 new members.
Smart move to stick with BRICS. We know what happens when acronyms don't end. They confuse everyone.
Well, that's an understatement. BRICS is a group of emerging economies hoping to increase their sway in the global financial order.
Now that sounds like the plot line of a movie. I'm listening.
Philip Patrick is our Bruce Wayne. He's a precious metal specialist and a spokesman for the Birch Gold Group. He's on the ground in Rio getting the whole lowdown on what's going on there.
Can he give us some inside intel?
Absolutely. He's been there since day one. In fact, a major theme at the summit is how BRICS nations aim to reduce reliance on the U.S. dollar in global trade.
Yikes, that doesn't sound good. We got to get Philip on the line, stat.
Already did, and he left the Clay and Buck audience this message.
The world is moving on from the dollar. Quietly but steadily, these nations are making real progress towards reshaping global trade. And the U.S. dollar is no longer the centerpiece. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but make no mistake, it's already begun.
Thank you, Philip. Protect the value of your savings account, your 401k, your IRA, all of them, by purchasing gold and placing it into those accounts and reducing your exposure to a declining dollar value. Text my name, Buck, to 989898. You get the free information you'll need to make the right decision. You can rely on Birch Gold Group, as I do, to give you the information you need to make an informed decision. One more time, text my name, Buck, to 989898.
The reviews and ratings are in, and Ice Cube's Big 3 is the surprise hit of the summer. And to cap off the season, iHeart presents the Big 3 Basketball Playoffs. This Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, the remaining 4 teams battle it out for the right to make the Big 3 championship in the most physical, fierce, and competitive basketball league in the world. The action starts with the Big 3 Monster Energy Celebrity Game, where your favorite stars compete in Big 3 3-on-3 basketball. Then the first of 2 semifinal games features Dwight Howard and the LA Riot taking on Montrezl Harrell and Dr. J's first-place Chicago Triplets. The finale will see popular Miami 305 with stars MVP Michael Beasley, and last will Make You Dance Stevenson take on Nancy Lieberman's Dallas Power, who finished the season winning 5 straight weeks to capture second place. Can Glenn Rice, Greg Monroe, and Paul Millsap stop Miami's physical assault, or will Miami and Beasley put an end to Dallas's winning ways? Who will make it to the Big 3 championship? This no-holds-barred action starts Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific, only on CBS.
There's nothing like sinking into luxury. At WashableSofas.com, you'll find the Anabe sofa, which combines ultimate comfort and design at an affordable price. And get this, it's the only sofa that's fully machine washable from top to bottom, starting at only $699. The stain-resistant performance fabric slipcovers and cloud-like frame duvet can go straight into your wash, perfect for anyone with kids, pets, or anyone who loves an easy-to-clean, spotless sofa. With a modular design and changeable slipcovers, you can customize your sofa to fit any space and style. Whether you need a single chair, love seat, or a luxuriously large sectional, Anabay has you covered. Visit WashableSofas.com to upgrade your home. Right now, you can shop up to 60% off store-wide with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Shop now at WashableSofas.com. Add a little to your life. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Hey there, I'm Mary Catherine Ham.
And I'm Carol Markowitz. We've been in political media for a long time.
Long enough to know that it's gotten, well, a little insane.
That's why we started Normally, a podcast for people who are over the hysteria and just want clarity.
We talk about the issues that actually matter to the country without panic, without yelling, and with a healthy dose of humor.
We don't take ourselves too seriously, but we do take the truth seriously.
So if you're into common sense, sanity, and some occasional sass,
you're our kind of people.
Catch new episodes of Normally every Tuesday and Thursday
on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen.
Welcome back in, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. We head up to Alaska now to talk with the governor of Alaska, Mike Dunleavy, on the eve of, I would imagine, one of the biggest events to ever happen in Alaska, certainly in the modern era, to have the president of the United States and the president of Russia meeting for an incredibly, potentially significant and impactful summit on the future of Ukraine, Russia, and the war there. We bring in now the governor of Alaska, Mike Dunleavy. Is that a fair characterization that as these things go, I would imagine the amount of preparation, the amount of security, and the amount of potential historical significance at play here is really unprecedented, not just for Alaska, but frankly for almost every state?
No, I agree. It's incredible. It's exciting. We're glad to be hosting it here in Alaska. Makes sense given our proximity to Russia. We're only about 2.5 miles between two islands, one controlled by the U.S., Alaska, and one controlled by Russia, but 50 miles between the mainland. So, no, we're excited. And it's not the first time President Trump's been up here. He's been up here many times. He refuels here at the same base they're going to have the summit at on his way to Asia. And we've had the opportunity to get on board Air Force One and have meetings with him. But President Trump is really looking out for Alaska, obviously really looking out for the country. And in this case, we're hoping for the best that at least this will start some serious talks on getting this war in Ukraine resolved sooner than later.
Governor, if you can give us a sense of this, there's, I think, more geostrategic importance and particularly on the national security side. We think of Alaska and energy for sure a lot, but on the national security side, given its proximity to Russia, as we all know, the line from Saturday Night Live, can see Russia from my house. Not quite true, but very close in terms of the actual distance between Alaska and Russia. What are some of the national security implications? And also, your state has substantial military resources.
Yeah, we're the most strategic state in the country by far. We are obviously an Arctic state. That's what makes America an Arctic country. But we're also a North Pacific sovereign and a Western Pacific sovereign. And to give you some perspective, we are so far west. I know we think of Hawaii being west, but we are so far west that we're 1,000 miles closer to Australia than California is. So we are, by ship, we're 8 hours to Tokyo. From Moscow by plane, we're 2 hours closer to Moscow than Washington D.C. is, going that direction. So we live in a neighborhood that's got some interesting neighbors: Russia, China, North Korea. We, as you mentioned, we have robust military resources up here. We have the largest Coast Guard presence in the country here. We have missile intercepts here. We have bases with F-35s, F-22s, rapid deployment forces with our Army assets up here. And so, a lot of people also forget that Alaska was actually invaded during World War II on the Aleutian Islands by the Japanese, and it took a joint Canadian-American effort.
Attu Island, right?
Yeah, we call it Attu. Yeah, Attu and Kiska. Yeah, and so very strategic location for the Arctic, very strategic location for the Pacific. So, yeah, we take great pride in that, and probably have more retired military individuals per capita than any other state in the country.
Can you tell us anything about the location, what it will look like, what the process will be? And the reason I bring it up is, obviously there's going to be immense media attention. I mean, the number of media that are traveling to Alaska, I'm sure will set an all-time record for people that have been, in Alaska, frankly, covering anything for one particular time, unless there's some major historic event that I can't think of, that this will look like. Will this be on the base? I think you mentioned, will it be in some sort of conference room? I mean, I imagine this is a little bit like a debate in that both sides sort of, hash out all the details before the respective presidents show up there. What should we expect in terms of the actual process of the meeting and what that's like?
Well, it's definitely on the base, and the base is a large base, so there's many buildings there that would be conducive to these conversations, not just between the President Trump and President Putin, but their associates and aides that are coming up with them. So the base is well positioned from a security perspective, but also a privacy perspective, and the ability for these two individuals to have a discussion. It's my anticipation, and this is based upon what President Trump has talked about in the news here recently, that it's really it's going to set the stage for further discussions. And depending on how it goes, how well it goes, who knows? They may extend it and stay here. They may decide to schedule a follow-up summit pretty quick. There's always rumors floating around that President Zelensky could be invited here if things are going well. So we're playing it by ear. I think the president is going to do his best to look Putin in the eye and really figure out if the individual is serious about peace and to what degree. And so, like the rest of the world, we are eagerly anticipating what the outcome is going to be in this summit. But we're glad to host it, and it's an honor to have President Trump up here again.
We're used to seeing the governor, the security of a president, especially this president, given what he's been through in recent years, as we all know. Substantial Secret Service presence, a lot of coordination with state, local, federal law enforcement, all hands on deck for our president. Obviously, on U.S. soil, our people will be responsible as well for the safety of the Russian premier. I'm just wondering, how many are there a ton of Russians who show up too as part of his security detail, or is this largely he trusts in the American people and the American leader here, Donald Trump, that it's safe as can be for Putin to just show up in Alaska, and we've got him protected for this meeting?
Yeah, it's a combination. I mean, there's no doubt that our security apparatus is second to none, and I'm sure that President Putin is going to bring his entourage, including security, with him as well. I have no doubt they've been coordinating every day since this announcement, maybe even before the announcement was made, on the security measures that are going to be taken here in Alaska. But having this on a secure base, and again, Alaska is isolated, as you know, we're at the top of the world, so a small population. It is tough to get here for folks, especially it's our tourist season, so it's hard to get lodging and hard to get on a plane. But nonetheless, I think it's an ideal spot geopolitically in terms of location. Security-wise, and having it on the base, I think, is a wise idea. So I'm hoping for a successful summit. I'm hoping, once again, that what comes out of this is going to be a lasting, just peace for the people of Ukraine. And I think this is going to be another example where President Trump brings two sides together, which he seems to be doing quite often throughout the world to end these wars. Because we all know, I mean, wars are bad, period. And it's bad for the economy. It's bad for international relations. And so we're all hopeful.
And, there's the possibility that this could be referred to, if this is very successful, right? This could be the kind of summit that people talk about for many years to come. It could be in the history books. It's something that I think could be viewed really as a turning point. So with all of that, and now that we've established the national security implications and everything else, just focusing on Alaska for a second, Mr. Clay Travis has not yet been, and we were just discussing fishing. And you were wonderful. I have been up there. I am unlike tennis. I have no illusions of grandeur. I'm not a good fisherman. How long would it take you, Governor, or I don't know, I'm assuming you can do one, I don't know, to get Clay semi-decent at fly fishing if he were to come up and visit next summer?
Well, I don't know the depth of Clay's current skills when it comes to fly fishing.
Let's assume zero, Governor.
Limited.
Let's assume zero.
Let's presume limited.
Okay, it might take a little bit of work, but we're willing to take him under our wing. We'll take him to We might want to start out taking him over to like Bass Pro Shop, and he could fish in the tanks there to get.
I like my odds. I like my odds of catching stuff at a Bass Pro Shop.
Even the worst of fishermen can catch fish up here, salmon, halibut, you name it. So, Clay, you need to come up here. If you're an outdoors type of guy, you're going to be, I think, astounded at not just the beauty, but the opportunities up here as well.
I can't wait to visit. I'm going to bring my whole family up. One more question for you, Governor, notwithstanding the fact that I likely would struggle immensely on the fly fishing. On a more serious front, you actually mentioned that Zelensky, who knows? Trump has said, hey, we'd like to have tripartite talks potentially if these things go well. Does the governor get a phone call and they just tell you, hey, so Zelensky's also coming and maybe we're going to need some extra food and beds? What is the protocol for something like that? I'm sure there's not a lot of experience in any state, but do you just look down and they're like, oh, man, Zelensky's on his way in too? Like, how does that process work?
Well, that's an interesting question, right? Because there's really not a template for this. But going back to when President Trump announced that he was coming up here, we immediately were engaged with the White House. There are advanced teams and others associated with the White House on not just security measures, but venues, et cetera, et cetera. So they have a pretty good handle now and have ascertained what the assets are up here for a potential arrival of President Zelensky. I would say this, though, that if President Zelensky does come here, that means that there was some significant movement in a direction that could be conducive to a just peace. And so that's one of the things to watch for. If he does come up, I mean, the other thing to watch for, who knows, the meeting might be over in an hour, and that also will be telling. So we're all waiting to see what's going to happen. We hope for nothing but the best, but if President Zelensky does end up coming, we would also do everything we can to provide for him, as well as the White House people will also make sure that that trip is safe and secure and productive.
Well, we appreciate the time, Governor Mike Dunleavy. We also want to say thank you, by the way, Governor. I'm sure you know these stations well. News Radio 650 in Anchorage, News Radio 970 in Fairbanks, and News Radio 97.5 in Ketchikan. We know we have a big audience of Alaskan listeners up there. I look forward to seeing some of you in person at some point. And good luck with the big summit going on tomorrow, Governor. We know how busy you are.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
For sure. That's Governor Mike Dunleavy of Alaska. And tomorrow, Buck's going to be a really interesting show because who knows how this is going to go. And I think we'll probably be going off the air about time that they're coming for that press conference, joint press conference that is scheduled. So a lot of news coming tomorrow that is going to be incredibly fascinating, I think, to see how it all shakes out. In the meantime, since 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been supporting America's greatest heroes and their families. Heroes who protect our communities and our country. Heroes like firefighter James Dickman. He was passionate about fire safety, aspired to do everything in his power to keep his community and his fellow firefighters safe. While responding to an apartment fire, James and his crew tried to save people thought to be trapped inside. When the situation escalated, James wasn't able to escape. He perished in the blazing inferno. The cause of the fire was arson. James leaves behind his loving wife, Jamie, his children, Paige and Grant. Tunnel to Towers gave the Dickman family the gift of a mortgage-free home. Jamie's grateful to Tunnel to Towers and to caring friends like you for lifting the financial burden of a mortgage off her shoulders. Join us in donating $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Want to be in the know when you're on the go? The Team 47 Podcast. Trump highlights from the week. Sundays at noon Eastern in the Clay and Buck Podcast feed. Find it on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
iHeart presents the Big Three Playoffs. This Sunday, the remaining 4 teams battle to make the championship in the most physical, fierce, and competitive basketball league in the world. The action starts with the Big Three Monster Energy Celebrity Game. Then Dwight Howard and his LA Riot take on Montrezl Harrell and Dr. J Chicago Triplets. The finale will see popular Miami 305 with stars MVP Michael Beasley and Lance Stevenson take on Nancy Lieberman's Dallas Power. Who will make it to the Big Three Championship? The no-holds-barred action starts Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific, only on CBS.
Time for a sofa upgrade? Visit WashableSofas.com and discover Anabay, where designer style meets budget-friendly prices, with sofas starting at $699. Anabay brings you the ultimate in furniture innovation with a modular design that allows you to rearrange your space effortlessly. Perfect for both small and large spaces, Anabay is the only machine-washable sofa inside and out. Say goodbye to stains and messes with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics that make cleaning easy. Liquid simply slides right off. Designed for custom comfort, our high-resilience foam lets you choose between a sink-in feel or a supportive memory foam blend. Plus, our pet-friendly, stain-resistant fabrics ensure your sofa stays beautiful for years. Don't compromise quality for price. Visit WashableSofas.com to upgrade your living space today with no-risk returns and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Get up to 60% off plus free shipping and free returns. Shop now at WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
This is an iHeart podcast.